Beloved chosen one, listen carefully. Heaven has paused everything around you for this moment. The air around you stills. The noise fades. And something deep inside begins to stir. You are not here by coincidence. You are here because heaven decided your spirit was ready to receive what your mind might still resist. This message may be difficult for you to believe, but that's because it was not designed for everyone. It was crafted for you, the one marked since before birth. You have always known there was something different about you. From childhood, you carried a sensitivity to things unseen, a knowing that others could not explain. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every night you cried in silence was not wasted. Heaven was building endurance in you, molding a warrior out of wounds. The same tears that once fell in despair are about to become oil for your anointing. You've asked, why must it hurt so much to be chosen? And heaven answers, because gold is not forged in comfort, it is refined in fire. You are that gold. You are the rare soul heaven has chosen to display glory through. You were not meant to blend in. Chosen one, you were meant to stand out, even when it costs you comfort, friends, or understanding. Every storm that hit you carried a secret message. You are not alone. Even when you thought heaven was silent, God was preparing your stage in the silence. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment was divine choreography. You did not lose time. You were being synchronized with destiny's clock. Look back now. Notice how the pieces fit the job that fell apart, the relationship that ended, the door that shut in your face. Each one whispered the same truth. This is not the end. It's preparation. You see, the anointing you carry is dangerous to darkness. That's why the enemy has tried so hard to make you doubt yourself. But your resilience, your compassion, your ability to rise again, these are not random traits. They are the proof that heaven placed power within you. You are being positioned for something sacred. The world sees your struggle. Heaven sees your strength. The world counts your losses. Heaven measures your growth. The world doubts your voice. Heaven amplifies it in the spirit. This is why your battles have been so personal, because your calling is powerful. And now, heaven declares, the wait is over. The moment you stop running from your purpose is the moment everything aligns. You do not need to fix the past to be used. You only need to surrender the present. The angels have been waiting for your yes, and the earth has been groaning for your awakening. So, stand still now. Breathe. Feel the weight of this divine interruption. It's not an accident. You are reading these words at this exact time. It's not chance that your spirit feels the tremor of truth rising inside. This is the call you've been hearing in your dreams, the whisper that never leaves. As the heavens still above you, remember this promise of God's presence and power. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 4, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff. They comfort me. That is your confirmation. Chosen one, even in the darkest valleys, heaven walks beside you. No shadow can extinguish the light within you. No fear can hold hostage a soul sealed by the hand of God. You may not see it yet, but every unseen battle you've survived was heaven's way of proving your endurance. The scars you carry are not shame, they are signatures of victory. Each one says, I made it through what was meant to break me. and that makes you unstoppable. Do not be afraid of what comes next. The same power that sustained you before will guide you now. When your strength feels small, grace enlarges it. When your hope flickers, faith fans the flame. You are never abandoned, only being led toward a greater revelation of glory. Heaven's hand is already moving ahead of you. New doors will open, not by force, but by favor. Where others saw limitation, God sees launching ground. You are stepping into divine acceleration, where years of waiting turn into moments of fulfillment. And everything that once felt delayed suddenly finds its purpose. If this message has touched your spirit, don't ignore it. Comment the prophetic number 777 below as your act of faith, declaring, "I receive this word." Then like, share, and subscribe, not for vanity, but to spread this message to every other soul who needs to hear heaven's voice tonight. You are the one heaven paused time for. You are the proof that divine purpose still breathes in human hearts. Believe it now the moment you do. Everything begins to shift in your favor. You were never ordinary, chosen one. That's why ordinary things never satisfied your soul. You tried to fit in, but the mold always cracked around you. You tried to settle, but peace refused to rest in shallow places. You've always felt the pull of something greater, something unseen, a calling that keeps whispering, "There is more." Every misunderstanding you faced was heaven's way of reminding you that your spirit doesn't belong to this world's rhythm. You are tuned to a higher frequency, one that others cannot hear. That's why you often felt misplaced, like an echo in a foreign land. Yet, in the silence of that difference, your identity was being written by the hand of God. From the very beginning, your story has been marked by separation. Where others found acceptance, you found questions. Where others were celebrated, you were tested. But that is the path of the chosen. It's not the wide road of ease. It's the narrow road of purpose. You were never meant to blend in. You were born to stand apart as living evidence of divine intention. The world tells you to conform, to quiet your light, to trade your authenticity for approval. But heaven calls you to rise, to burn brighter, to embrace the discomfort of destiny. You see, the oil that anoints kings is not poured in crowds, it is found in hidden rooms, during moments when no one sees your struggle but God. Every season of isolation was divine investment. Heaven was shaping your spirit while you thought life was falling apart. Every tear became language in heaven's courts. Every heartbreak became currency in the spirit. Nothing you've walked through has been wasted, not one sleepless night, not one unanswered prayer. You've wondered why people left when you needed them most. But the truth is, not everyone was meant to walk with you where you're going. Some were assigned to your past, not your promise. Their exit was painful, but necessary. God was protecting you from attachments that would have diluted your calling. Look closely, and you'll see that the same hand that allowed your breaking also preserved your breath. You didn't just survive, you matured. You sharpened. You transformed. The fire you thought would consume you only burned away what could not stay. What remains is the truest version of who you are, chosen, purified, and unstoppable. The beauty of your journey is that even in moments of confusion, heaven never lost sight of you. When you couldn't pray, your tears spoke. When you couldn't move forward, grace carried you. When you doubted your worth, God whispered reminders of who you've always been, a vessel designed to carry divine power into a weary world. Every chosen one bears a paradox. You carry light in a world of shadows. You carry peace in storms that others fear. That's why spiritual warfare surrounds you, not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous to darkness. The enemy doesn't waste his weapons on the ordinary, he attacks the extraordinary. You may not realize it yet, but your presence alone shifts atmospheres. When you walk into a room, spiritual tides change. It's why certain people are drawn to you and others are uncomfortable around you. The light in you reveals what's hidden in them. That's not arrogance, it's anointing. You've been misunderstood because your frequency is higher than average perception. You speak of faith when others see only fear. You hold hope when others surrender to despair. This difference isn't a curse, it's your divine signature. Heaven designed you to walk in uncommon grace, to think differently, to believe when logic collapses, and through every storm, God has remained consistent. He has whispered through your failures, guided through your confusion, and defended you in battles you didn't even know existed. The evidence of his favor is written in the survival of your soul. You are still here. That alone is a miracle. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." Let those words sink deep. Chosen one, you are the city built by heaven, illuminated by purpose, unshaken by storms. The world may try to cover your light, but no veil can conceal what heaven has ordained to shine. So, walk boldly into your difference. Own it. Carry it with reverence. The world needs what you carry, even if it doesn't understand it yet. Let your presence testify of grace. Let your words carry healing. Let your scars become proof that God transforms pain into purpose. There will come a day when all the confusion makes sense, when every sleepless night finds its answer, and when every silent prayer becomes a living testimony. Until then, keep shining, even when no one applauds. Keep believing, even when the promise feels distant. Heaven sees, heaven knows, and heaven rewards the ones who refuse to dim their light. You are chosen, not by accident, not by luck, but by divine design. And the same God who chose you will sustain you until the mission is complete. There is something written upon your soul that no eye can see, but heaven recognizes it instantly. It is not ink, it is essence. It is a mark placed by divine hands long before you ever drew your first breath. You, chosen one, carry the hidden mark of heaven, a seal that distinguishes you in both the natural and the spiritual realm. You may not have understood it at first. The strange restlessness, the quiet pull toward things unseen, the way certain places or people felt heavy to your spirit, all of these were signs. You were never meant to live unaware of the spiritual world around you. That sensitivity is not weakness. It is divine discernment awakening within you. From your earliest memories, there has been something different about your journey. Others walked easily while you faced invisible resistance. You tried to explain it, but words failed. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was warfare proof that your life carries weight in eternity. Darkness recognized your potential long before you did. That is why the battles have been relentless. But here is the truth: the seal upon you cannot be erased. Heaven's claim over your life is irrevocable. You can walk away for a season, but the mark remains. Even when you tried to blend into the world's patterns, heaven still called your name in the night. Even when you questioned your faith, grace refused to release you. The chosen cannot be lost for long. They are magnetically drawn back to the source of their purpose. Many have mistaken your seasons of struggle for defeat, but God calls them development. You've been in the hidden workshop of heaven, where gold is shaped, where strength is built, where identity is reforged. You carry spiritual authority that only comes through pressure. The oil of anointing flows only after the olive has been crushed. Do you know what that mark represents? It is ownership. You belong to the kingdom, not the world. It means heaven has legal right to intervene in your story. It means your prayers echo louder. Your presence shifts atmospheres, and your words carry unseen weight. The enemy knows this. That's why he's been trying to distract you, tempt you, and convince you that you're ordinary. Because if you ever realize how powerful you truly are, you will become unstoppable. Look closer at your life, the near misses, the times you should have fallen but didn't, the peace that returned when logic said it shouldn't have. These are all evidences of divine surveillance, proof that heaven guards its own. The mark you carry doesn't just identify you, it protects you. Some people sense something different about you without understanding why. They feel peace when you speak, warmth when you enter a room, conviction when they look into your eyes. That's not charisma, that's the presence of the Spirit moving through you. You are a vessel, you are a carrier of light, and wherever you go, darkness must yield. Heaven whispers to you now, don't hide what I've placed within you. You have spent too long shrinking to make others comfortable. You have dimmed your brilliance to avoid being misunderstood. But that season ends tonight. Heaven is commanding your awakening. You were never meant to camouflage light. You were meant to release it. You may fear what will happen when you fully step into this calling. But remember this promise: as long as the mark remains, protection surrounds you. Even when you walk into unfamiliar territory, you are never alone. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 26, "For the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being caught." Let that truth settle in your heart. You are not walking blindly, you are walking marked, guided, and covered. Every step you take is ordered. Every obstacle allowed only to refine, never to destroy. So now, I invite you to affirm your identity. Type the words, "I am," marked below. Let it not be a mere comment, but a declaration in the Spirit. When you write it, you are agreeing with heaven's truth over your life. You are saying, "I will no longer hide what God has sealed. I know who I am." Because once you recognize the mark upon you, fear loses its voice. The confusion lifts. The world may still misunderstand you, but heaven celebrates your awakening. You will begin to notice divine patterns, doors opening where there were only walls, peace replacing panic, strength returning where exhaustion once ruled. This mark is not about perfection, it's about purpose. God chose you knowing every flaw, every weakness, every question you would ever wrestle with, yet He still called you His. The mark is proof that mercy triumphed over judgment in your story. Walk boldly now. Chosen one, heaven's seal rests upon your life. When you speak, speak with authority. When you move, move with conviction. When you doubt, Remember, your name is known in heaven. The light in you cannot be hidden, for it was never meant to. There are battles you fought that no one knows about. The silent wars behind closed doors. The nights when sleep refused to come. The prayers whispered through tears you never meant anyone to see. Those moments, chosen one, were not wasted. They were the proving ground of your soul. You were learning to stand in the dark before heaven revealed the dawn. Every chosen vessel must endure seasons of testing, and yours have been fierce. Life has demanded strength you didn't know you possessed. People you trusted turned away. Promises broke. Dreams seemed to dissolve before your eyes. Yet here you are, still breathing, still believing, still standing. That alone is proof of divine favor. Do you remember those moments when you thought you were finished, when you felt like the weight of disappointment would crush you completely? Even then, God was closer than your next breath. His silence was not absence, it was preparation. Heaven often trains its warriors in quiet rooms. It is in solitude that courage is refined, and it is in pain that obedience is born. You have walked through storms that others could not have survived, but there was always an unseen hand guiding you through every wave. You were never abandoned, not for a single second. Heaven watched as you learned the sacred art of endurance. You faced battles that seemed unfair, yet they shaped a resilience within you that cannot be manufactured any other way. You have been misunderstood because your warfare was invisible. People saw your smile, but not your scars. They saw your posture, but not your pain. They judged your silence, unaware that you were fighting demons that had no language. The world will never fully understand what it costs to carry divine purpose in human form, but heaven understands. The angels have recorded every tear you've shed, every prayer you thought went unheard. And while the world dismissed your struggle, heaven documented your faithfulness. That's why promotion is coming, not as a reward for perfection, but as recognition of perseverance. Sometimes you wondered why you had to carry so much weight when others seemed free from it. It's because your calling demands capacity. The more you are entrusted with, the more you must endure. God doesn't build warriors in comfort, He builds them in battle. Every sleepless night was a lesson in authority. Every heartbreak was a doorway to deeper compassion. And now you are different. You don't react like you used to. You don't seek validation from the same places. Pain has purified your discernment. You've learned to listen to whispers, not noise. You've learned that peace is more powerful than applause. That is spiritual maturity, when the applause of heaven outweighs the approval of men. The world might measure success by possessions or visibility, but heaven measures it by obedience. You have obeyed even when it hurt. You have forgiven when it made no sense. You have kept believing when everything around you screamed, "Give up." And that, right there, is the mark of the chosen. You are proof that survival itself can be sacred. The fact that your heart still beats with hope means that darkness did not win. You walked through fire, but the fire could not claim you. You walked through the valley, but the valley could not hold you. You walked through loss, but loss could not define you. Heaven reminds you now through the sacred text as it is written in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 37. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. That is your identity, not a survivor, but a conqueror, not a victim of circumstance, but a vessel of divine power. Every trial was designed to reveal the conqueror within you. The mark of your pain is also the mark of your authority. When others doubted your resilience, God was writing your resume in the spirit. Every hardship became a credential, every setback a setup for deeper revelation. You don't carry ordinary faith, you carry tested faith. And tested faith moves mountains. The storms that once terrified you now teach you. You have learned that even the fiercest winds eventually bow to peace. You have discovered that God's strength shines brightest when yours runs out. You no longer panic when waves rise, because you know the one who walks on water walks beside you. You are emerging from the fire, different, stronger, quieter, wiser. The trials that once defined your suffering now define your authority. You are becoming the person your younger self prayed to be. And though the scars remain, they no longer ache. They remind you of victory. So lift your head. Chosen one, the season of silent warfare has produced something eternal in you. The world may never see the full depth of your journey, but heaven celebrates you openly. You have endured well, and because of that endurance, you are ready for what comes next. You have learned the language of perseverance, and heaven will now speak to you in the language of fulfillment. This is the turning point. Chosen one, you can feel it. Can't you? That subtle trembling in your spirit, that sacred unease that whispers, something is shifting. It is not fear, it is awakening. Heaven's timing is aligning with your obedience. What was once delayed is stirring again. Like seeds beneath the soil, sensing the warmth of coming spring. For so long, it felt like nothing was moving. You prayed, but silence echoed back. You worked, but doors refused to open. You watched others rise while you remained hidden, wondering if heaven had forgotten your name. But listen closely. Heaven's delays are never denials. The silence was the sound of roots growing deep. Every tree that towers skyward first spends seasons buried in darkness, unseen, its strength forged beneath the earth. That was you. While you thought nothing was happening, heaven was establishing your foundation. Because destiny that rises too soon collapses too quickly. God was making sure your roots could handle the weight of future fruit. You are now standing in the threshold between waiting and walking. The time of preparation is giving way to manifestation. What you lost will return multiplied. The opportunities that slipped through your fingers were never truly gone. They were being reserved for the version of you that could carry them with wisdom. Do not mistake stillness for stagnation. Heaven's hand moves quietly but precisely. The same God who aligned the stars knows exactly when to release your breakthrough. You are not late. You are right on heaven's schedule. Think of a river, winding through mountains. It seems slow, patient, even hesitant, but its persistence shapes the very landscape. You are that river. Your consistency has been carving a path for glory to flow. The time has come for that river to widen, to overflow into places it was never meant to reach before. Every lesson you learned in pain now becomes a tool in your hand. Every no that broke your heart becomes a redirection toward something far greater. You are entering a season where the invisible becomes visible, where faith meets fulfillment. The Spirit declares this truth through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Yes, chosen one, the night is ending. The horizon of your soul is brightening, and the dawn of divine purpose rises before you. You've cried enough tears for the old season. Heaven says it's time to dance again, to rebuild, to reimagine. But here's the mystery. This turning point is not just about what you receive, it's about what you release. Every divine elevation carries an invitation to generosity. When God blesses, it is never meant to stop with you. You become a conduit, a vessel through which hope, love, and provision flow. So if this message has touched you, if something in your spirit feels seen, healed, or strengthened, consider sowing back into the light that spoke to you, not as payment, but as partnership, your share, your like, your subscription, even your donation. These are not transactions, they are seeds. Each act of support becomes a ripple of hope, reaching someone else who needs to hear what you are hearing now. Think of it like a candle lighting another. The flame doesn't diminish, it multiplies. When you share this message, you're not promoting a voice, you're spreading divine truth. When you subscribe, you're anchoring yourself in a well that continues to pour living water. And when you give, even a small offering, you're telling heaven, I believe in the flow of purpose. Every drop of kindness counts. Every seed sown in sincerity returns in abundance. Your small gesture today may be the very reason another soul decides not to give up tomorrow. Heaven moves through human hands. You are not just a listener, you are part of this unfolding mission. By sharing this word, you become a messenger. By supporting, you become a builder of bridges between broken hearts and divine healing. The world is hungry for truth. Chosen one, it's waiting for the light that shines through you. So let's carry it together. Every comment, every like, every act of generosity is a torch raised against darkness. Remember the river. It grows not by hoarding water, but by releasing it. Let your giving, whether through time, words, or resources, be the overflow of gratitude. You have been poured into so that you might pour out. And as you do, watch how heaven responds. Watch the quiet doors swing open. Watch the favor flow where there was drought. Because the principle of the kingdom is this: what you release multiplies. What you give in faith returns with divine increase. You have reached the turning point. Not by striving, but by surrendering. Heaven is ready to move through you, to transform your obedience into abundance. So walk forward with peace in your heart and purpose in your hands. The light you carry is about to ignite others. Deep within you lies something ancient, something coded into your spirit long before your first cry echoed through this world. It is not talent or luck, it is a kingdom code, written by divine hands, sealed within your very essence. Most never discover it, because it awakens only through surrender and faith. But you, chosen one, are standing at the edge of that awakening now. For years, you have felt the stirring, those moments when your heart raced without reason, when your spirit felt pulled toward something greater. You may have dismissed it as imagination, but heaven calls it activation. The code within you is stirring, glowing like embers that only divine breath can ignite. This is not about religion, it is about remembrance. You are remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Heaven is whispering your true name, not the one written on paper, but the one spoken in eternity, the one that darkness fears. Every chosen one carries a divine pattern, a spiritual DNA unique to their calling. Some are healers, some are intercessors, some are voices of truth in systems built on lies. You, 2. Have a blueprint, a specific frequency of light that responds to the voice of heaven. When you align with that frequency, everything begins to move: doors, opportunities, hearts, and heavens themselves. But for the code to awaken, surrender must replace control. God cannot download divine instruction into a heart filled with noise. That is why you've been isolated, silenced, and stripped of distractions. Heaven has been preparing a quiet space in you, a sacred room where revelation can finally speak. Think of it like a musician tuning their instrument. If even one string is off, the entire melody suffers. Heaven has been tuning you, stretching, tightening, adjusting your spirit until every part of you resonates with his frequency. The discomfort you felt wasn't punishment, it was preparation. This spiritual code doesn't just awaken for your benefit, it unlocks purpose for others. Your obedience becomes the key for many who are still wandering. When you speak truth, chains break. When you walk in faith, fear loses ground. When you choose forgiveness, generations are healed. You are not just one life, you are a divine ripple. Do not underestimate the power within you. When you pray, atmospheres shift. When you worship, spiritual realms respond. When you walk in humility, heaven releases authority. You are a carrier of sacred technology, the divine language of transformation. As the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 9, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love him. That is what your code carries: unseen plans, unheard melodies, unimaginable futures, and they are beginning to unfold right now. Do not shrink back. Do not fear. The divine pattern inside you is older than any opposition around you. You were equipped before the battle even began. Heaven is not surprised by your warfare, it is orchestrating your victory through it. This awakening is like a seed cracking open underground. From the outside, it looks like destruction. But from heaven's perspective, it's birth. The shell must break for life to emerge. So, if you feel like you're breaking, rejoice. It means resurrection is near. You are stepping into a frequency of divine revelation where things you used to struggle to understand will suddenly become clear. Scriptures you once read with confusion will now glow with meaning. Dreams will return with precision, and intuition will sharpen until you feel heaven's nudge in your every decision. You will start to see signs that align with your calling: numbers, names, and confirmations that feel too exact to be random. Heaven is coding reminders into your path, whispering, "You are on track. Do not rush it." The awakening of divine blueprints is a sacred unfolding, not a sprint. Trust the process. The same God who placed the code within you will reveal how to use it, when to speak, and where to walk. So, pause. Chosen one, feel the rhythm of heaven inside you. That pulse you feel, it's the code coming alive. The instructions you've longed for will no longer come from outside voices, but from the still whisper within. And when you sense that divine alignment, do something prophetic, declare your agreement with heaven. Type the number 999 below. Let it be your signal, your spiritual signature that says, I choose alignment over anxiety. I choose faith over fear. I choose to awaken. This number is more than digits, it's a declaration of completion. It symbolizes the closing of the old cycle and the birth of the new. As you write it, you're saying to heaven, I am ready to receive the download. I am ready to step into divine flow. The kingdom code within you is not waiting for permission, it's waiting for recognition. And now that you've seen it, it will not go silent again. You are awakening, and the heavens are rejoicing. Walk boldly in this revelation. What you carry is rare. What you release will ripple far beyond what you can imagine. There is a battle that never sleeps, a whispering war that takes place not in the sky, nor in the streets, but within your own mind. It is a clash between light and shadow, between faith and fear, between destiny and distraction. You have heard both voices, haven't you? One calls you forward with quiet certainty, the other pulls you back with trembling doubt. The voices of darkness are subtle. They don't roar, they whisper. They come disguised as logic, as self-preservation, as the advice of those who love you but cannot see what heaven has shown you. Play it safe. They say, don't hope too high. They warn, you've tried before, and it didn't work. These are not mere thoughts, they are the strategy of resistance. The enemy's greatest weapon is not destruction, it is deception. But the voice of heaven speaks differently. It does not shout, it stirs. It doesn't flatter your ego, it awakens your essence. When God speaks, something inside you recognizes the sound. It is familiar, like a melody you've always known, but had forgotten until now. That voice doesn't feed your fear, it calls your courage. It doesn't remind you of what went wrong, it reminds you of who you are. This inner conflict is not a flaw, it is the proof of your value. No thief breaks into an empty house. The fact that your mind has been a battlefield means there is something worth stealing: your peace, your faith, your focus. But heaven has not left you defenseless. You have been armed with truth, and truth cuts through every lie like light through fog. Still, you felt the exhaustion of the war, the mental battles that never stop replaying the same scenes, every mistake, every failure, every wound that whispers, you're not enough. You fought thoughts that told you God was silent, that your purpose was fiction, that your time had passed. Yet even in those moments, you sensed something sacred, resisting the despair, a flicker of faith that refused to die. That flicker is not yours alone, it's heaven's flame within you. Every chosen one must learn to master their inner battlefield, for the mind is the gate to the spirit. When you surrender your thoughts to truth, heaven's peace floods the places where chaos once ruled. You start to see clearly what once felt like punishment now looks like preparation. What once felt like loss now reveals itself as protection. The enemy tries to convince you that the storm is the end, but heaven uses the storm to reveal the strength of your anchor. You were never meant to escape every battle. You were meant to emerge transformed. Each mental war you overcome deepens your discernment and strengthens your spirit. You begin to recognize which voice is yours, which voice is God's, and which one must be silenced. You can feel it now, can't you? That subtle shift where confusion starts losing its grip. You are remembering that you are not the voice of fear. You are the one who hears it and chooses differently. You are not the storm, you are the one who stands within it, unbroken. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 6, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. That is not just a command, it is a covenant. It means you are never fighting alone, even when your mind is a battlefield. The Lord stands beside you as your commander. He doesn't merely cheer from afar, He equips you in the fight. So, when the voice of doubt rises again, and it will, do not argue with it. Replace it. Speak truth louder than fear. Say, I am chosen. I am covered. I am becoming. Every time you do, you disarm darkness a little more. The power of life and death truly is in your tongue. And every declaration of truth builds spiritual momentum. The longer you walk with heaven, the easier it becomes to recognize the enemy's patterns. The same lies repeat themselves, but you no longer respond the same way. You start to live from peace, not panic from conviction, not confusion. The voices of darkness still whisper, but they lose authority because your heart is anchored in divine certainty. This is the maturity of the chosen, to live in a world full of noise and still recognize heaven's whisper. You are learning to listen differently now, not through fear, but through faith. Every battle in your mind has been shaping this discernment. Every doubt you've defeated has been polishing your clarity. And one day soon, when you hear heaven speak again, whether through scripture, a dream, or a quiet thought, you'll smile with recognition, knowing, that's my Father's voice. And that realization will silence every shadow once and for all. There were times, chosen one, when you felt the call, deep, unmistakable, echoing through your heart like a sacred drumbeat, but you tried to ignore it. You told yourself you weren't ready, that maybe the feeling would fade. You busied your hands with smaller things, hoping the voice would quiet. But heaven does not forget. The call you carry is not an echo from the past, it is a command from eternity. Every chosen soul reaches a moment of tension between comfort and calling. It is the crossroad where you must decide whether to remain who you've been or step into who you were meant to become. You've stood at that crossroad many times, haven't you? You've felt the pull toward surrender, and you've also felt the fear that comes with obedience, because answering the call often means leaving behind what feels safe. You have run before, away from opportunities that demanded faith, away from people who mirrored truth, away from quiet moments that made you confront what you'd been avoiding. You convinced yourself that you were too broken, too busy, too uncertain, but grace followed. Grace never let you go too far. Every detour still curved back toward destiny. That is the mercy of being chosen. You can resist the call, but you cannot erase it. God is patient but persistent. His call does not expire, it evolves. Every season of delay becomes another opportunity to choose Him freely. The voice you've been hearing isn't condemnation, it's invitation. Heaven has been whispering, return to the assignment. The time is now. Do you remember the first time you felt that holy stirring? Perhaps it came through a dream that wouldn't leave your mind, or through a conversation that pierced deeper than words. Maybe it came in the middle of your pain, when all you had left was faith too small to name. Yet still, you felt something larger holding you, pulling you, promising that all this struggle was not in vain. You see, calling doesn't always arrive with clarity. It often arrives wrapped in contradiction. It asks you to build when nothing exists, to believe when evidence is absent, to love when you've been wounded, to step when you cannot see the ground. That's why so many ignore it. But you, though you ran, never lost the sound of it. Heaven was patient as you wrestled. God allowed you to taste the emptiness of living below your potential, not to punish you, but to remind you that comfort without purpose always leaves you hollow. Every time you chose your own path, it led you back to the same longing: there must be more. And there is. Now heaven stands before you again, not with anger, but with open arms. The call you tried to outrun still waits. The same God who spoke to you then speaks again now, saying, I have not changed my mind about you. Your detours have not disqualified you. They have deepened you. The lessons you learned in the wilderness will serve you in your promised land. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. That verse is not simply comfort, it is confirmation. It means your story was written with restoration in mind. Every wrong turn, every hesitation, every fear has been accounted for within the plan. Heaven wastes nothing. Even your running has purpose. It showed you what life without obedience feels like, so that when you return, you never forget the difference. You may wonder, will God still use me after all this time? The answer is yes, because the call was never based on your perfection, but on His promise. What He placed in you cannot expire, it only matures. Like a seed lying dormant beneath winter's soil, your purpose has been waiting for the warmth of your surrender. And now, the season changes. The call no longer whispers, it resounds. You can sense it in your bones. Can't you? That tug in your chest, that restlessness when you try to return to the old ways. It's heaven reminding you that your comfort zone has become too small for your destiny. You have reached the moment of return, not to where you were, but to who you were always meant to be. The doors you feared to approach before will soon open with ease, because your heart posture has changed. You no longer chase validation, you pursue alignment. The call you once ignored now becomes your anthem. It is no longer a burden, it's your breath. You are not being asked to start over, but to step forward. Every tear has watered the soil of your obedience. Every moment of delay has sharpened your discernment. And when you take that next step, don't look back with regret, look forward with reverence. The God who chased you through silence and storm has brought you here for one reason: it's time. The same voice that found you in hiding now declares, Arise, my chosen one. The waiting is over. You have answered before with hesitation. This time, answer with certainty. Because grace didn't bring you this far to let you fade, it brought you here to ignite. You once thought your losses were punishment, chosen one, but they were never that. They were fire. And fire never comes to destroy what is gold. It only comes to reveal what is real. Every season of loss was heaven's refining furnace, stripping away what could not endure glory. You have not been cursed, you have been purified. When the storms hit, you begged for relief, but heaven sent endurance instead. You didn't realize it then, but endurance is heaven's language of love, because easy seasons never build strong souls. The deepest strength is born in the hidden heat of refining, where your tears mix with faith and something eternal begins to form. There were things you thought you needed: people, opportunities, plans that vanished suddenly. You cried over their absence, Not knowing that heaven was answering prayers, you didn't know how to pray. Some doors had to close because they led to distraction, not destiny. Some hands had to let go because they carried motives not meant for your next chapter. What looked like loss was actually the mercy of God, disguised as disappointment. Every chosen one must face the fire. It's the sacred classroom of transformation. Fire doesn't ask permission, it tests authenticity. And you passed. Yes. You trembled. Yes. You questioned. But you didn't quit. That alone made you victorious in heaven's eyes. Because the goal was never to emerge unscathed, it was to emerge unshaken. The refining didn't just remove people, it revealed you. You discovered that your worth wasn't attached to who stayed or who left, but to the one who never left. You discovered that peace doesn't depend on circumstance, but on connection to heaven. You discovered that faith is not about what you see, but about what you know deep in your spirit. Every flame that tried to consume you was secretly sculpting you. Every heartbreak carved new depth. Every delay forced new trust. You learned to listen when God said no, to rest when He said wait, and to move when He whispered now. The you that entered the fire is not the same you standing here now. You have evolved. You've stopped chasing validation because you've seen how temporary it is. You've stopped measuring yourself by outcomes because you've learned to value obedience over applause. You've stopped begging for closed doors to reopen because you've realized that divine rejection is protection. The refining process changed your definition of success. It's no longer about achieving, but about aligning. And in the quiet moments, you began to feel something different, not emptiness, but expansion. The hollow spaces left by loss became room for revelation. You began to hear heaven's whispers again. You realized that your heartbreak was not the end of your story. It was the hinge that turned you toward your true beginning. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9, I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, they are my people. And they will say, the Lord is our God. White times, that is your promise. You are not forgotten in the fire, you are being spoken over. Heaven knows your name, and your endurance has become incense rising before the throne. Every trial has rewritten your spirit with strength that cannot be learned in peace alone. So now, you stand not as one who merely survived, but as one who carries authority earned through fire. Your words will heal because they come from authenticity. Your presence will bring calm because it carries residue from holy endurance. The fire has not taken from you, it has given to you. When people look at you now, they may not see what you've endured, but heaven does. The scars they overlook are proof of divine craftsmanship. You've become a living altar, evidence that surrender produces beauty. And now, as a prophetic act, type these words in the comments, I am refined. Let that declaration not just exist on the screen, but echo through the spirit. When you say it, you are agreeing with heaven's verdict over your life. You are saying, the fire did not destroy me, it defined me. You are declaring to every memory of pain, you did your work. Now watch me rise. Each time you repeat it, you disarm shame and magnify grace. You remind your spirit that refinement was not loss, it was transformation. You are no longer carrying ashes, you are carrying oil. The pain became purpose. The waiting became wisdom. The breaking became birth. And heaven smiles upon you now, saying, "It is enough. The fire's work is complete. Step forward, chosen one, shimmering with the light of a purified heart." The next chapter begins not in the flames, but in the glow that follows. There comes a moment, chosen one, when the fire fades, and something extraordinary emerges from the smoke, a crown. You don't wear it on your head, you carry it in your spirit. It is invisible to the eyes of men, but radiant in the eyes of heaven. It is the mantle of authority, a sign that you no longer walk as a wounded one, but as one who has been trusted with divine power. This mantle is not given lightly. It is woven from obedience, stitched with tears, and dyed in perseverance. You have earned it not by striving, but by surrendering. When others complained, you worshipped. When others quit, you prayed. When others sought control, you chose faith. Heaven watched and said, "Now they are ready." Authority in the kingdom is not about commanding others, it's about carrying presence. When you walk into a room, peace follows you because you've learned to dwell in peace yourself. When you speak, hearts soften because your words have been refined in compassion. You are no longer a mere participant in this world, you are an atmosphere changer. The mantle rests lightly, but its weight is holy. It teaches you to walk differently, not with pride, but with purpose. Those who once overlooked you will soon notice something they can't explain. It won't be your appearance, your title, or your status. It will be the quiet radiance of one who has been with God. You have become like a lamp in the night, carrying light, not because of effort, but because you've surrendered to the flame. People will begin to seek your counsel, drawn not by your confidence, but by your peace. That is the mystery of divine authority. It flows from stillness, not striving. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19, "Behold, I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you." This promise is not poetic, it is literal. You carry heaven's signature. The same power that raised the dead now moves through your obedience. When you pray, the unseen trembles. When you forgive, generational chains break. When you love, walls collapse. You are not simply surviving anymore, you are governing in the Spirit. But, chosen one, authority is not a trophy to display, it's a tool to serve. You are entrusted with it so you can lift others, not elevate yourself. Think of yourself as a lighthouse on a stormy coast, not chasing ships, but standing steady so they can find direction. Your light doesn't demand attention, it offers safety. And now that this light burns in you, it's time to let it travel further. When you share these messages, when you invite others to listen, you are extending that lighthouse beam into more souls adrift in darkness. Your light becomes a lantern. Your share becomes a bridge. Your subscription becomes a vow that says, "I will stay connected to this flow of light." And if you feel led, your donation, no matter how small, becomes seed in sacred soil. It fuels the flame that reaches those who cannot yet find their way home, like the widow's oil that never ran dry. Your giving multiplies what heaven can do through this mission. It's not charity, it's participation. It's saying, "I believe in this light enough to keep it shining." Imagine this journey like a great symphony. Every note matters. Your engagement is not noise, it's harmony. When you respond, heaven hears unity. When you support, you become part of a divine orchestra carrying truth to every corner of the earth. There are souls right now standing where you once stood in silence, in confusion, in pain, waiting for a word like this to reach them. You can be the reason it does. That is what partnership with heaven looks like. Ordinary people carrying extraordinary fire together. You see, the mantle you carry doesn't stop with you, it expands through you. Every act of generosity, every whisper of encouragement, every moment of faith releases another wave of healing into the world. The kingdom grows not by grand gestures, but by consistent hearts that say yes. And when you give, whether it's a click, a prayer, or an offering, you're not fueling a platform, you're fueling purpose. You're saying, let this fire keep burning. Let this message keep reaching. Let this hope keep speaking. Just as rivers never drink their own water, your giving doesn't return empty. It flows back in blessings. Unseen but inevitable. Heaven always multiplies what is released with sincerity. So, wear your mantle humbly. Chosen one, let the authority you carry become comfort for others. Let your generosity echo as testimony. You've been given much light, healing, strength, so that through you, heaven can give more. The time of silence is over. The fire has refined you. The mantle has found its rightful shoulders. Walk in it. Speak from it. Live through it. And as you do, let your every action, your words, your kindness, your sharing become worship in motion. There comes a sacred season in every chosen one's journey when God begins to separate, not to punish, but to protect. It is the season when heaven gently removes what cannot travel with you into the next chapter. It is the separation season. And though it often feels like loss, it is actually liberation. You may have already felt it happening. Certain friendships began to fade without explanation. Conversations that once excited you now feel empty. Environments that used to bring you comfort now stir discomfort in your spirit. It's not that you've become cold, it's that your frequency has changed. When heaven elevates your vibration, everything not aligned with it begins to drift away. It's human to resist this process. You might wonder, did I do something wrong? Or why is everyone leaving? But separation is heaven's pruning. Just as a gardener trims living branches to produce stronger fruit, God is trimming away what could choke your growth. Some relationships are seasonal. They were sent to build you for a while, not to accompany you forever. When you cling to what heaven is trying to remove, you delay what heaven is trying to release. You are being refined into clarity. God is making room for divine connections, people who match your purpose, not just your past. The ones who once walked with you in darkness may not be able to stand the brightness of your new dawn. And that's not cruelty, it's order. When light increases, shadows naturally retreat. There's a deep loneliness in this season that only heaven understands. You begin to see that certain conversations no longer feed you, certain habits no longer fit you, and certain dreams no longer move you. It's as if your soul has outgrown its old clothing. You are being fitted for new armor, and it feels unfamiliar. But trust it. The ache of separation is the sound of transformation. Every prophet, every chosen vessel, every reformer has walked this narrow path. Before David wore a crown, he was hidden in caves. Before Joseph ruled Egypt, he was betrayed by his brothers. Before Jesus began his ministry, he withdrew to the wilderness. The wilderness is not punishment, it is preparation for power. It's the place where God strips away applause so that your obedience can stand alone. There will be moments when you'll want to run back to old comfort, old validation, old voices that once soothed your fear. But if you return, you'll notice something strange. It doesn't feel the same. What once felt safe now feels small. What once felt right now feels wrong. That's because your spirit has changed. Once your eyes have seen the light, you can't go back to darkness without discomfort. The Spirit reminds you through the ancient words recorded in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 17. Therefore, come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. Touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you. This is not a command of arrogance. It is an invitation to intimacy. God is saying, let go of what contaminates your peace, and I will draw you closer to myself. The separation season is not about isolation, it's about elevation. Heaven removes noise so that revelation can speak clearly. You might feel the void, but heaven fills every empty space with something sacred. The absence of certain people will make room for divine encounters. The silence of familiar voices will amplify heaven's whisper. The loneliness will birth discernment. You'll begin to distinguish between what flatters you and what fuels you. Don't grieve too deeply for what has been taken. When something or someone departs, it's because they've finished their assignment in your story. Thank them silently and release them in peace. Their chapter ends so that yours can continue. And soon, new alignments will appear. People who see your worth without explanation. Doors that open without forcing. Opportunities that flow instead of drain. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations that you've entered divine order. The hardest part of separation is trust. You must believe that what is leaving is no longer necessary, and what is coming is already prepared. Heaven never subtracts without the intent to multiply. The pruning knife of God always leaves behind beauty. When you feel the ache, remember, even the moon must let the sun rise. Darkness makes way for light, not in defeat, but in design. So too, every ending in your life is making way for illumination. This season may test your patience, your faith, and your heart, but it will also clarify your purpose. You will emerge lighter, freer, and sharper. And when you look back, you'll thank heaven for every closed door, every goodbye, every silent departure, because you'll see that it was never rejection, it was redirection. You are being positioned for purity of purpose. Walk through this season with open hands, not clenched fists. Release what no longer resonates. Receive what heaven sends. And know that separation is not the end. It is the sacred doorway to your next level of destiny. You've started to notice it, haven't you? The signs, the patterns, the gentle echoes that follow you through your days like divine breadcrumbs. You glance at the clock and see repeating numbers. You hear a phrase you just prayed about. You feel chills when someone unknowingly speaks the exact words you needed to hear. These are not coincidences. Chosen one. They are confirmations. Heaven has begun communicating in symbols because your spirit is finally quiet enough to listen. When the veil between the seen and unseen begins to thin, the physical world starts reflecting spiritual truths. Numbers, names, songs, dreams These become heaven's alphabet. God speaks not only through scripture, but through the rhythm of life itself. Every repetition, every alignment is a message that says, you are in divine timing. Some call it synchronicity, but the chosen know it as divine dialogue. It's not superstition, it's intimacy. Heaven knows that your heart now beats in tune with revelation. So the messages become more visible. The same number keeps appearing not to frighten you, but to focus you. Every pattern is an invitation to pause and pay attention. You might notice that these signs intensify when you start to doubt. That's because heaven uses them to anchor your faith. When the path feels unclear, the signs remind you that you are not lost, you are led. You are walking on coordinates heaven drew long before your confusion began. You begin to understand that every symbol is sacred. Every repeating moment is a whisper, keep going. You're on the right path. And the deeper you go, the more fluent you become in heaven's language. The numbers, the dreams, the confirmations, they start to form a conversation, a living rhythm between you and the divine. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, in the book of Job, chapter 33, verses 14 to 15, for God does speak now one way, now another, though no one perceives it, in a dream, in a vision of the night. When deep sleep falls on people, he may whisper in their ears. Heaven has been whispering, and you, chosen one, are finally perceiving. The dreams you thought were random are actually instructions. The patterns you thought were strange coincidences are confirmations. Even the delays are divine punctuation marks in the sentences of your story. Sometimes heaven speaks through peace. You'll feel it settle over you suddenly, without reason. That peace is a yes. Other times, you'll feel unrest, a quiet dissonance that tells you, this is not your path. Learn to read those sensations. They are heaven's way of guiding you without words. You've matured beyond needing external proof. The signs are no longer there to convince you, but to converse with you. Heaven is not begging for your belief anymore, it's inviting your partnership. Every alignment is an opportunity to respond. So, when these signs appear again, and they will pause and breathe, say within yourself, I see you, Lord. That acknowledgement turns coincidence into communion. It shifts your perspective from wondering if God is speaking to recognizing how he is speaking. Do not fear the mystery. God hides messages not to confuse you, but to draw you closer. The divine signs you see are breadcrumbs leading you into deeper revelation. They don't replace faith, they refine it. You may see numbers like 1111, 222, or 555, but remember, the digits themselves are not magic. The meaning behind them is, they point your eyes heavenward, reminding you that every detail of your life is under orchestration. Heaven leaves markers along the road so that even when your emotions waver, your direction does not. You are entering a season of divine alignment, where even time will begin to feel different. Delays won't discourage you anymore, because you'll sense heaven's rhythm in them. You'll start to realize that late in the world's time often means right on time in God's. This awareness will sharpen your discernment. You'll find yourself making decisions with supernatural clarity, because heaven will confirm your choices before you make them. Doors will open not by effort, but by alignment. Conversations will unfold like prophecy, and every moment will carry that quiet assurance that says, This was meant to happen exactly this way. Now, chosen one, do something prophetic. If you feel these words resonate deep within your spirit, if you've been seeing signs, patterns, and divine confirmations, type the number 444 below. Let it be your declaration that says, I recognize heaven's guidance in my life. I am aligned. The number 444 represents divine order and angelic presence. It signifies stability after seasons of uncertainty. When you write it, you are symbolically opening your hands and saying, I trust the process. I know I am being led. And as you acknowledge these signs, expect them to multiply, not for spectacle, but for intimacy. Heaven doesn't reveal signs to entertain, it reveals them to engage. Every time you respond, the connection deepens. So pay attention to the numbers. Notice the whispers. Treasure the patterns. They are not there to confuse you. They are there to comfort you. You are walking in step with divine rhythm now, guided by unseen hands that never miss a beat. Heaven is not silent, it's speaking through everything. And now, finally, you are listening. There is a battle older than time itself. Chosen one, a war not of nations or armies, but of identity. It is the war over your name. Before you ever spoke your first word, before you even knew who you were, heaven had already declared you chosen. And because of that declaration, darkness declared opposition. The fight over your life has never truly been about your possessions or your plans. It has always been about your name, the spiritual identity that carries your divine purpose. From the moment you entered this world, your name carried weight in the unseen. It wasn't just syllables, it was a prophecy, a spiritual signature that signaled your purpose. The realm of darkness recognized it immediately. That's why you've faced resistance in areas that others walk through easily. That's why confusion, rejection, and false accusation have trailed you. They've been weapons aimed not at who you appear to be, but at who you truly are. The enemy has always known that if he could make you doubt your identity, he could delay your destiny. That's why he whispered lies early in your story. Lies that told you you were unworthy, unseen, unlovable. Lies that disguised insecurity as humility and fear as wisdom. Because if you forget your name, you forget your authority. And when you forget your authority, you begin living beneath your inheritance. But heaven never stopped calling you by the name. It gave you the name that cannot be stolen or silenced. You felt that call in the deepest parts of your being, especially in moments of weakness. It's the reason you could never fully give up. Even when you tried to quit, something sacred kept pulling you back. That something was your true name, echoing through eternity, calling you home. There are names the world gives, and there are names heaven assigns. The world calls you by your history: failure, mistake, disappointment, but heaven calls you by your destiny: heir, overcomer, light bearer. The world identifies you by what you've done. Heaven identifies you by what you've been designed to do. And every time you start to align with heaven's definition, the enemy trembles, because you're reclaiming territory he thought he had taken. You are not who the world says you are. You are not even who you think you are. You are who heaven knows you to be. Your name is spoken with reverence in celestial places. Angels recognize it, because it is written in light within the Lamb's book. You have been known by name since before the foundations of the earth were laid. It's no wonder, then, that your battles have been personal. The attacks have not been random, they've been targeted. When hell realizes it cannot erase your calling, it tries to distort your confidence. It plants people in your path to question your worth, situations that break your trust, and seasons that bury your joy. But even in those moments, heaven is watching not to rescue you prematurely, but to reveal your resilience. The Word of God reminds us through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 1, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." Let that truth settle into you like sunlight on skin. You are called by name, not by number, not by chance. God doesn't just see you, He knows you. He speaks your name in the stillness of the night when you doubt your worth. He has written it on His hands, engraved it on His heart. When you realize that your name carries heaven's authority, you begin to walk differently. You no longer chase approval, because you carry affirmation. You no longer fear rejection, because your belonging was settled long ago. The same voice that called stars into existence also called you. That means every moment of your life is backed by divine intention. Your name is not fragile, it's fortified. It has survived ridicule, disappointment, betrayal, and heartbreak. Yet it still stands. Each wound you've endured has only deepened its resonance in heaven. When you speak truth now, it carries more weight, because it's been spoken through healed scars. And know this every time you pray. Heaven hears your name before your words. Every time you worship, the sound of your name harmonizes with the angels. Every time you step into obedience, your name becomes a banner of light against the darkness. You are part of a lineage of the marked and mighty, those whose names carried heaven's purpose through earthly struggle. Abraham, Esther, David, Mary, none of them were perfect, but all of them were chosen. And now your name joins that eternal story. One day, when you stand before the throne, you will hear your name spoken in its truest form, the one untouched by pain, purified by faith, and filled with glory. You will recognize it instantly, because it has always been echoing inside you, waiting for that moment of complete recognition. Until then, remember this: every battle for your identity has already been won. The cross was the final signature on your name. What heaven has sealed, no hell can rewrite. Walk with that knowledge. Speak from that confidence. Live from that truth. You are known, named, and needed, and your name, chosen one, carries the sound of victory. There is a weight that comes with being chosen, a holy gravity that presses not to crush but to shape. You have felt it, those moments when joy and burden coexist within the same heartbeat. It is the weight of glory, the unseen mantle that heaven places upon those trusted to carry light through darkness. It is beautiful, yes, but it is also heavy. When you were called, you may have imagined that glory would always feel like sunlight. Yet glory can also feel like fire. It burns away the unnecessary. It refines your motives. It exposes the hidden corners of pride and fear that cannot coexist with purpose. You cannot carry divine authority lightly, for heaven's weight rests only on shoulders strengthened by surrender. Sometimes that weight shows up as responsibility, the sense that you can't ignore the pain around you. You see people differently now. You sense brokenness before words are spoken. You carry empathy like armor. The same sensitivity that once felt like a curse is now the evidence of divine trust. God gives his heaviest assignments to his most compassionate hearts. But there are days, aren't there, when that sensitivity feels too much to bear, when you feel the ache of the world and wonder, why me? Why must I carry this? It's because glory is not just radiance, it's resonance. The presence of God doesn't just shine through you, it vibrates within you. It makes your heart tender so that his love can flow through, unblocked. You feel deeply because you are designed to heal deeply. Do not mistake heaviness for despair. The weight of glory bends you toward prayer, not collapse. It drives you into solitude so that you can refuel in the presence of the one who assigned it. Every time you fall to your knees, the weight shifts from burden to power. What once drained you now strengthens you. This transformation is not instant, it is gradual. Like dawn creeping over the horizon, you will find that the more you surrender, the lighter the weight becomes, not because it diminishes, but because your capacity expands. What once felt impossible becomes natural. You begin to carry peace into chaos, wisdom into confusion, love into hostility. You stop reacting to the world and start realigning it. The Apostle Paul understood this sacred paradox. He wrote of it with conviction in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. Read those words again. The weight you feel is not punishment, it's preparation for glory that outweighs your pain. Every burden carried with faith becomes an investment in eternity. Every tear sown in obedience becomes a harvest of light. Heaven wastes nothing, not even exhaustion. There will be moments when you'll want to lay it all down, to retreat into simplicity, to escape the demand of being the one who carries. And heaven will understand that fatigue, even Jesus withdrew to lonely places to pray. The call to carry glory does not demand perfection, it demands presence. Sometimes the holiest act is simply remaining available. When you feel the ache, rest but never resign. Rest is not quitting, it's recalibration. The weight of glory cannot rest upon a hurried heart. So slow down when you must. Let silence become your sanctuary again. Let worship wash the dust of duty off your spirit until joy returns to your work. This weight will change you. You will start to walk differently, more measured, more merciful. You will speak less, but every word will carry substance. You will seek no spotlight, because the light within you will outshine anything artificial. You'll discover that humility isn't shrinking, it's alignment. The truly powerful don't need to prove it, they simply are. Carrying glory also means carrying mystery. You will not always understand what God is doing through you. Sometimes you will feel stretched beyond what seems fair. But remember, the potter does not explain every turn of the wheel to the clay. He shapes in silence because the process itself is revelation. There is beauty in this pressure, because pressure is proof of purpose. Diamonds are born of it. Wine flows because grapes yield to it. Even stars burn under divine pressure, transforming darkness into light. You, too, are being transformed not in spite of the weight, but because of it. And though at times it feels lonely, know this: you are not the only one carrying this glory. Across the world, other chosen hearts bear the same ache, the same fire. the same sacred responsibility. Together, you form a constellation of light across the earth, each one carrying a fragment of heaven's brilliance until the world is illuminated. So hold the weight with reverence. It is not a curse, but a crown in disguise. The same pressure that bends your knees today will lift your hands in triumph tomorrow. And when the full radiance of God's plan is revealed, you will see that every ounce of this holy heaviness was worth it. Something begins to stir inside you. Chosen one, a quiet rising, a holy awakening that feels both ancient and new. It's as if your soul is remembering something it once knew but had forgotten under the noise of the world. This is not just a season of awareness, it is the great awakening within you. You have walked through darkness and fire, silence and separation. You have been emptied, refined, and stretched. But now, heaven whispers, it's time. The seeds that were buried beneath your pain are breaking open. You can almost hear them cracking in the soil of your soul. It doesn't sound like triumph, yet it sounds like surrender. But surrender is the sound of new life beginning. Every chosen one reaches this point, the moment when survival gives way to purpose. You are not waking up to escape your past. You are waking up to redeem it. Every failure becomes wisdom now. Every scar becomes testimony. Every detour becomes a road of destiny paved with understanding. This awakening is not loud. It doesn't announce itself with thunder. It comes quietly, like dawn. You'll notice it when your reactions begin to change, when you respond with grace instead of anger, patience instead of panic, peace instead of fear. That is the sign that your inner landscape has shifted. You are no longer ruled by circumstance, you are moved by spirit. And as you rise, others will notice. They may not understand it at first. Some will ask what changed. Others will simply feel different around you, lighter, calmer, safe. That is the fruit of awakening. Your peace begins to minister without words. You become a living sanctuary, a moving altar. But with awakening comes responsibility. You can no longer live half asleep, drifting through routine. You've been entrusted with light now, and light demands stewardship. You are being called not to perform, but to become, to embody heaven's rhythm in a restless world. Think of yourself as a tree newly rooted after a storm. The wind no longer threatens you, it teaches you. The rain no longer drenches you, it nourishes you. You're not the same seed that was planted, you're the fruit that testifies that even buried things can rise again. This awakening doesn't make you better than others, it makes you available to them. You begin to understand that every blessing is a tool, not a trophy. Your words, your presence, your resources, they all become instruments of healing for those still wandering in the dark. It's here that heaven invites partnership, not obligation, not guilt, but partnership. When you like or share these messages, it's not about numbers, it's about nurturing light. Every share is like sending out a candle into another's night. Every comment is an echo that reminds someone else they are not alone. And when you subscribe, you aren't just following a voice, you're staying connected to a flow of truth that keeps your spirit sharp in a world that dulls faith daily. And if your heart ever feels led to donate, know that it's not about transaction, it's transformation. Your offering becomes a bridge that carries this word further than algorithms ever could. It's like pouring water on a seed that someone else has yet to see grow. You may never know their name, but heaven records your generosity in eternal ink. Imagine this mission as a great fire on a mountaintop. Every engagement your share, your comment, your support is another piece of wood placed upon it. The higher the flame, the farther its warmth reaches. Somewhere out there, another weary soul is wandering through their night, waiting for that light. You can help it reach them. The world is cold. Chosen one, cynicism has frozen hearts. But you are part of heaven's thaw. The warmth in your words, the compassion in your actions, the truth in your testimony, they all melt the frost of unbelief around others. You don't just carry light, you are light. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, "Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." That is your purpose in this awakening, not to be seen, but to reflect. The light was never meant to stop at you, it's meant to move through you. So, when this message stirs your spirit, take a sacred moment to breathe and reflect. If something in these words touched your heart, write a few thoughts below. Your reflection may become revelation for someone else. Every honest comment becomes a seed in another soul's awakening. The great awakening is not coming someday, it's happening now. In you, through you, because of you. Each heartbeat that aligns with heaven adds another spark to the global flame. And as it spreads, the world begins to glow again, one awakened soul at a time. There comes a hush before revelation, the kind of silence that feels alive. It's the pause between heaven's breath and your next command. You can sense it now, can't you? That quiet anticipation in your chest. Like creation itself is waiting for you to listen. This is the moment. Chosen one. When heaven gives its final instructions before destiny unfolds, it won't come as thunder or spectacle, it will come as clarity. The noise that once distracted you has fallen away. And now the still, steady voice begins to speak. What you're hearing is not new, it's the same guidance heaven has been whispering since the beginning. But now your spirit has matured enough to receive it. God's instructions rarely arrive as full maps. They come as pieces, as glimpses, as a lamp to your feet, not a spotlight on your future. You'll be shown the next step, not the entire staircase. That is how heaven teaches. Trust revelation comes through relationship, not through control. Each act of obedience unlocks the next instruction. The first command heaven gives is simplify. Let go of the clutter, the noise, the opinions that cloud your clarity. You cannot carry divine direction with a divided heart. The greatest distractions are not always evil, they are simply unassigned. Even good things can become weights if they are not meant for this season. You have carried many things out of compassion, but not everything you carry is yours to keep. Heaven is telling you now, put down what is not appointed. Every unnecessary burden steals strength from your true assignment. Trust that others will rise to carry what you release. The second instruction is guard the oil. You've paid a price for your anointing. And now heaven asks you to steward it with reverence. Not everyone can handle what you carry, and not every place deserves your presence. The oil of your calling must not be poured where it cannot be honored. You've learned this through heartbreak, now live it through wisdom. You don't need to explain your boundaries. Obedience is explanation enough. Silence can be strategy. Some instructions require confidentiality until they mature into manifestation. Heaven is teaching you the art of hidden obedience, where your surrender is seen only by God. yet felt by nations. The third instruction is move when I say move. Divine timing is precise. Delay when heaven says wait, and act when heaven says go. Many lose blessings not because of disbelief, but because of misalignment. You must learn to sense the rhythm of heaven and match it. The Spirit's leading often feels like peace in motion, effortless, unforced, yet undeniable. There will be moments when the path ahead looks unfamiliar. Don't panic. Heaven's routes rarely follow logic. God will send provision in places that seem barren. Help from hands you never expected. Confirmation through whispers you nearly dismissed. These are the landmarks of divine direction, subtle, yet unmistakable. Heaven's final instruction for this chapter is stay yielded. Yielded does not mean passive, it means pliable. It means moving with the wind of the Spirit, not resisting it. The unyielded heart demands explanation before obedience, but the yielded one trusts that understanding will come after movement. As the voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 15, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on." That is the word for this moment. Move on. Not backward into what once was. Not sideways into comfort. But forward into purpose. You've prayed enough. You've waited long enough. The next phase requires motion, not just meditation. It may not look like much at first, a simple step, a small yes, a quiet beginning, but heaven multiplies movement. When you act on divine instruction, the supernatural aligns with your natural. Doors you didn't even know existed will open. The resources will appear. The right voices will find you. The path will illuminate beneath your feet as you walk it. You are no longer being trained for promise. You are being positioned for fulfillment. This is the transition point where revelation turns into reality. Every delay has been building discernment. Every silence has sharpened your hearing. You now recognize God's voice not by volume, but by vibration. It resonates deep within, undeniable and pure. In the coming days, listen carefully. There will be moments when you sense a divine nudge, gentle but insistent. Follow it immediately. Don't reason it away. The Spirit's whispers are windows that close quickly. Obedience is your greatest act of faith. And remember this truth: heaven never instructs without intention. Every command you obey is an act of creation. When you move in faith, you build realities unseen. The invisible becomes visible because you chose to trust the voice, even when you couldn't see the outcome. So, take a deep breath. Chosen one, the final instructions have been spoken into your spirit. Your heart knows what to do next. The voice of heaven has not led you this far to fall silent now. Step forward, not in fear, but in faith. For what lies ahead is not another trial, but the unveiling of everything you were prepared for. At last, chosen one, you arrive at the place where everything begins to make sense. The storms behind you, the silences that once frightened you, the unseen hands that shaped your path, all of it converges here. In this quiet moment of revelation, what you could not understand before now unfolds like dawn through fog, soft but undeniable. This is the unveiling, the truth that waited patiently until your spirit was ready to see. You realize now that this message, every word, every echo, was never random. It was a conversation between heaven and your soul, disguised as language. You were not simply reading, you were remembering. Each sentence awakened a memory older than time itself. A divine knowing imprinted in your spirit long before your birth. That is why it felt familiar even when it challenged you, because truth always feels like home once it's recognized. The greatest revelation is not about the future, it's about identity. You were never meant to chase destiny. You were meant to awaken to it. Destiny was never waiting somewhere outside of you, it was sleeping inside you, waiting for permission to rise. Every trial you endured was not just preparation, it was activation. Suffering pressed the oil of purpose from your soul. And now that oil flows freely, luminous and fragrant with faith. Look at yourself through heaven's eyes for a moment. The person you were when this journey began no longer exists. The fear, the confusion, the need for constant reassurance, they've fallen away like old garments. What remains is steady, refined, luminous. You have been rebuilt from within. What once felt like breaking was actually remaking. The voice that speaks to you now is the same voice that called stars into being, the same breath that gave life to dust. It whispers still, "You are mine." You were never lost, only learning to find me in new ways. You were never forgotten, only hidden until the right moment of unveiling. There is a rhythm to revelation, a heartbeat of heaven that you can now hear clearly. It doesn't rush, it unfolds. It doesn't demand, it invites. That rhythm has been guiding your every step. The people you met, the doors that closed, the prayers that seemed unanswered, all of it followed a divine cadence, leading you to this point of clarity. Now, you see that belief was never the hard part. The hard part was surrender, trusting that even when you saw nothing, something holy was still happening. That trust has become the foundation of your strength. You have learned to live not by sight, but by resonance, by that sacred pull in your spirit that says, "This is the way, walk in it." This revelation also brings rest. You no longer need to strive for what is already yours. You don't need to prove your worth or force your timing. Heaven's promises do not require panic. They respond to peace. You have matured beyond the anxiety of arrival. You now understand that purpose is not a destination, it is a dwelling. The scripture declares in the book of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." Those words are your anchor in this unveiling. What began in trembling faith will end in unshakable glory. The work within you is not halfway done, it is unfolding exactly as heaven designed. You have stepped into the current of completion. From here on, you will move differently. You will walk with quiet authority, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. You will speak less, but with greater impact. You will discern quickly, forgive easily, and love deeply. These are the signs of one who has been refined in the fires of revelation. You will also notice that the world looks different. Colors seem sharper. Time feels slower. Moments stretch with significance. That is not illusion, it is perception purified. The same world remains, but your vision has changed. You now see from the inside out. You see heaven's fingerprints on everything. And when challenges come, and they will, you will no longer panic. You'll remember that revelation is not meant to remove storms, but to remind you who commands them. The wind may rise again, but this time, it will not frighten you. It will only remind you that you are built for it. This, then, is the final unveiling. The message that was so difficult to believe was not merely a word sent to you, it was a word awakening within you. It was never about learning to hear heaven's voice. It was about realizing that heaven's voice already lives inside your spirit. You have reached the place where belief becomes being. The journey has not ended, it has transformed. You are no longer the seeker of light, you are its bearer. And as you step forward from this revelation, the world itself will begin to shift in response to the sound of your awakening. Beloved chosen one, take a breath and look at how far you've come. You did not stumble upon these words by accident. Heaven led you here. Every section, every whisper, every truth you absorbed was meant to awaken something divine within you. Now you stand radiant, steady, and aware. You have remembered who you are chosen, sealed, and called. The journey may have carried pain, but now you see its purpose. The ashes became anointing. The silence became song. You no longer chase after light because you've become it. What once confused you now makes sense. What once hurt you now heals others through your presence. That is the mystery of transformation. Heaven turns the broken into beacons. So, as you step away from these words, do not let this encounter fade. Carry it. Let it breathe through your actions, your kindness, your conversations. The world around you needs what has awakened in you. Every smile, every gesture of grace, every word of encouragement becomes part of heaven's ongoing story through your life. If this message touched your spirit, if something inside you feels renewed, take a moment to let it ripple further. Like this message, not for algorithms, but as an act of gratitude. Share it, not for attention, but as a torch passed from one awakened soul to another. Somewhere, someone is waiting for the same light that just reached you. And when you subscribe, you're not merely following, you're choosing to stay within the current of revelation. You're saying, keep my heart tuned to heaven's voice. These moments of connection are sacred threads in a tapestry that spans across hearts and nations. Before you leave, write a few words below a reflection, a sentence, a thought that rose while reading. You never know who might read your comment at their lowest moment and find hope because of your honesty. Every written word becomes a seed planted in another's awakening. This is not the end, it is a beginning. You are walking out of this chapter carrying light the world desperately needs. Walk gently, speak truth, and remember, heaven watches, heaven guides, and heaven moves through you now. Your journey continues, and the story of your awakening has only just begun.